All right, ladies and gentlemen, what a privilege. I'm here with the Marty Bennett, my youth pastor from back in the day who's just doing incredible things and changing the world. Marty, thanks for making the time to hop on with me.
Glad to be here.
So, Marty, tell us your story. How did you get here to where you're living fully, living unleashed, working at Camp Charis, making a huge difference? What's the journey been like?
Well, the journey hasn't been easy, but it certainly has been a journey of just faith. It's interesting. I was a youth pastor for 16 years, and in 2015, got to the place where I just kind of felt I was done. You could say for many of those years as a youth pastor, I felt like I was just running a machine. Ended up learning a lot about myself. The best part about being a youth pastor was actually meeting one-on-one with guys, and that's probably where I spent the least amount of time as a youth pastor because there were so many other demands.
Yeah.
And so, because of all the other demands, and because of my need for approval and my need to prove my self-worth, I ended up working really hard in lots of different ways, to try to really keep the machine running. So I ended up taking a little bit of time off because God reminded me of who I was. I would say, man, there came a day when I realized what was really true of me, and that was that I'm a man of faith. I'm called to train and equip people. And I realized that for most of my life, the only way that I knew how to live was out of response to other people. So it was an interesting, because I guess I realized that I wasn't able to be fully me because I was always waiting to see how other people would respond to me, and that would determine who I would be or how I would live.
Right.
And so the only times I could really be confident was when I knew that I would have a favorable response from somebody else.
Yeah.
So then I came away from my little sabbatical and I said, I think I'm done. And I ended up working another 2 or 3 years as a youth pastor. And what God did in me during that time was bring me to a place where I began learning to live in light of what is true about what He says about me, and about who He really is.
So, living in light of who God says you are, how do you get to that point where you even know what He's saying about you? How do you learn your identity, your true identity?
Well, that has come, I would say, largely in part of being intentional about seeking out people who I could just be honest and real with. So I have 3 people who have journeyed with me. They, I would say, 1 or 2 of them know like absolutely everything about me. And I went through a journey with one good friend where every single week we met face to face for 18 months. And all we did was got together and say, Jesus, we give you full permission to shine your light on any area of our life. Would you just speak? And it was amazing. Without fail, God would shine His light. There was often times when I didn't feel really good about myself and I expected God to be like, hey, deal with this and this. But all He did was give me one of these, just a big hug, and just say, I love you and you are mine. So that's actually one of the first things He began to speak to me is, you are mine. And that took a little while to actually believe that, and then to begin thinking like somebody who is God's, and then I began to shift the way that I actually think about, and that was a huge part of it.
Wow. So what holds people back from living in that identity? What are the barriers to that?
I would think number 1 would be just being unaware. I don't think people are aware, self-aware. I don't think people stop long enough to just kind of look introspective, and I don't honestly think that people want allow people to get close enough, um, to not just help them out, but to help them see. I mean, I'm telling you, it's not fun to see the reality of, like the truth is, you can't just look at yourself. If you just look at yourself, you get so depressed, and it's you'll either get depressed or you'll try really hard to be better. You have to, at the same time you're looking at yourself and trying to discover who you are, you have to increasingly grow in your knowledge of who God is. Because when you realize how good and how great and how gracious and how glorious He is, you begin to see such a huge gap between Him and you, and then Jesus just becomes so much bigger. So, but it's interesting, Justin. I couldn't do it alone. I needed not just one person. I needed 3 different people to help me just talk it out, to wrestle through stuff, and get to the place where I could really connect with Jesus in faith. One of the main scriptures that God spoke to me was out of John 5:44, I believe. He says, "How can you believe if you accept praise from men, but don't seek the praise that comes from the only one true God?" What he's saying there, and what that spoke to me, was this idea: how can you walk in faith? How can you believe if you value what other people think more than what I think? Jesus was the way, the truth, and the life. So God's way is truth, leads to life. My ways that I have get stuck in all have to do with unbelief or some sort of lie I'm believing, and then the fruit results in just negative fruit. It could be, usually shows up in relationships, or in me in isolation.
If I press play on whatever, I don't know, iPad, radio in your car, what is popping up right now?
I Wish I Knew You by the Revivalists. I don't know. It is such an awesome song. I just came across it a couple months ago, and I just love it. Nice. I Wish I Knew You.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, favorite movie of all time?
I think it's Rocky IV because of the underdog, and also, like, honestly, that's the story of my life, is just this idea that against all odds, with God, or, it's these movies that, you get knocked down 100 times, but there's no way that you're out. I love Rocky IV.
Yeah. Tell us more about Camp Charis. What is the most fulfilling part of what you do there?
Right, the most fulfilling part would be that there's 300 to 400 kids that come through, and lots of different staff that come through, and I get to take part of helping train, but then also walk with them through the year, so all the follow-up. My favorite part of doing this life is just training and equipping other people to actually live out their faith. And so I get to work with, I think it's about 14 young people who worked at camp this summer. Wow. And every week just help them go from here to there, from living their lives stuck in the cycle of knowing about God, but actually learning to put into practice His way. So that's by far the most rewarding. I'm also a man who loves conflict, and so anytime you're working with a bunch of staff, there's tons of conflict, and so I love to just help mediate and help people really just understand another person, help them seek understanding and be understood. And it's amazing how guards come down, how people get disarmed when they're understood. They end up feeling significant, valued, important. That's really life-giving.
Any words for our friends in Beaumont that you'd like to say specifically?
Honestly, the big thing that's been blowing me away lately is just that, life is better in Beaumont.
Yeah, everyone knows that. That's absolutely the slogan.
But I would honestly say that life is better when you absolutely believe that access to heaven doesn't depend on your performance or on anything other than Jesus Christ opening it up. I love that access to heaven is wide open every day, all day, no matter what state you're in. And so I would just encourage people to to believe that and act on that and live in light of it.
Marty Bennett, everyone. Thank you so much, sir. Take care. Keep doing cool stuff and keep living unleashed.
Amen. Bless you.